Hey everybody, I'm Jim, and I really hope you're doing all right today. This is not a video I'm super excited about filming. However, it directly impacts this YouTube channel, both on my end of things as well as what you can expect to see content-wise. For the last 5.5 years that I've been uploading to YouTube, countless videos have been dedicated to guitars that have been exclusively available to the Japanese market because I adore them. I love them. They're some of my favorite guitars of all time, and this was the last one that I imported, and I imported it in the last week of March before the whole tariff madness started. I'm no longer going to be doing that. This is going to be the last one that I import. Now, before I give you a price breakdown to show you why I don't feel that this is a sustainable business model anymore unless I were to charge an absolute fortune for all these guitars, there's two things that I absolutely have to say. Number one, we are inevitably going to be talking somewhat about politics. All I can ask of you is to not argue with each other, not be toxic in the comment section. Nothing positive is going to come from that, and honestly, you're not going to change anything, so what's the point? Another thing I need you to know before we talk about how we got here, because it's not just the tariffs, believe it or not. It's important that you know that this is not going to financially devastate me or my family. Yeah, it sucks, but at the end of the day here, it's just one stream of income that we're no longer going to be able to have. At the end of the day, we have multiple different income streams, and we're really fortunate for that. We weren't entirely dependent on this to make a living. I know people right now that work in the pedal industry. Hell, I was just talking to somebody in the guitar amplifier manufacturing industry, and the struggles that they're going to face are going to impact so many other people, because the other thing that's important to remember is I was doing this completely on my own. I was a one-man show through and through. They have employees. They have to worry about other people being able to provide for their families, and that's not a situation I envy being. So I just want it to be known that I'm really, 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 really grateful that I'm as lucky as I am to not be in that dire of a situation. All right, now we can get started. Before the presidential election even happened last year, there were already significant things that were impacting my decision making and making me a little bit more picky when it came to what guitars I was interested in importing to resell. Perfect example of this is the prices going up. Tokai last August had their largest price increase in the history of the company, and they are no spring chickens. They've been in this since almost the very beginning of Japanese electric guitars. Almost 20% across the board. Yeah, Fender Japan, they've gone up in price substantially as well. Not to the same exact percentage, but it's been noticeable. So over the course of the last, I want to say 18 months, I've noticed things just going up and up and up. And that's always something that you start to be a little bit more cautious, especially when you're in the business of reselling and trying to make a buck. You take all these things into account. Now, factor that into the fact that we now know that the tariff rate for Japan is going to be 15% starting on August 1st. This just makes things even more expensive, because despite how some people try to explain a tariff, the people that end up paying the tariffs are the consumers. And in the case of us buying guitars from Japan, we're the ones that are going to pay it. And the people that are going to continue to stay in business, they're going to pass that cost on to you, the potential customer. For simplicity's sake, we're going to say that the cost of the guitar that I'm buying new from Japan is 200,000 yen. That translates to roughly 1,350 US dollars. I then have to pay the DHL fee to have it shipped over here. That's another $280. Then, once it arrives, I have to pay a 15% on the actual value of the instrument. Not for the shipping, but the value of the instrument, which is again $1,350. The grand total of all of those things combined takes me to right above $1,800. I think it's about $1,830 to be exact. Now let's say I sell the guitar on Reverb for $2,100 with free shipping included. Reverb take their cut, $171.99, and then I got to pay for shipping out of my own pocket because I bundled it into the price. Call that $75. At the end of all of that, I'm left with approximately $1,850 when I spent approximately $1,830 to get the guitar. Thus, my profit is not even enough to take my wife and my kid out to go play miniature golf. In order for me to turn a profit of even $200, I'd have to charge $2,300. And then think about this. That's almost $1,000 more than the actual retail cost of the guitar if you were in Japan buying it new. Now you might be thinking that's just the cost of doing business. And I'd say, yeah, You're right, that is the cost to do a business. However, have you done business lately trying to sell any gear on Reverb? Unless you're pricing something on the floor or you have something extremely rare, people are not spending like they were even a few years ago for a multitude of different reasons, which I'm not even going to touch on in this video. So you're taking on even more risk and assuming that people are going to pay these exorbitant prices for the guitars. Now, the reason I'm holding the Fender Jaguar is because the people who are looking for these guitars are going to be impacted the most by these changes. If you want a custom color, you want a matching headstock, say you want binding, it doesn't have to be just like this one, but Japan have multiple different Fender special runs that go to individual shops that people love, and they're somewhat affordable at their actual retail price. Now, with all these other fees and factors priced into it, you're going to be spending a fortune on one of those things, and the unfortunate reality is we do not have equivalent options here in the market. I made a video about this last August. Why won't Fender make a proper Fender Jaguar reissue? They still haven't. You don't have a rosewood Fender Jaguar available that has vintage specs, matching headstock, and a traditional actual Fender Jaguar electrical system onto it. You just don't. So until Fender do this, and this would be, in my opinion, a great opportunity for Fender to seize, because in every negative there is a positive. There's absolutely an upside to this. Fender, from a manufacturing standpoint, to say, okay, we're going to actually pay attention to this. They put this guitar into the American Vintage 2 line, or even if they just offer it in the Vintera 2 line with a rosewood option, you throw in some web-exclusive custom colors, and then more people will be able to get their hands on these sorts of models far more easy and far less expensive. The other good news is, if you weren't operating as a business buying and selling guitars, as an individual, that 15% isn't the end of the world in my book. Yeah, it's a little bit more, but remember, compare the pricing from the beginning, when I first got the guitar, paid for the shipping, and then I paid the import duty, versus the price that you're going to pay on a reseller now on Reverb. It's a no-brainer. Just buy the guitar directly from Japan and save yourself the headache and all the money. But unfortunately, that's all I have to say. Outside of the Japanese guitars I have here, and I have some fantastic ones, including the one I'm holding, you're not going to be seeing any new ones on this channel, so you can't look forward to any demos of anything that you see that's cool, that gets posted on Fender Japan's website, Tokai, Cruise Maniac Sound, any of the Divisor brands, and that one's heartbreaking for me because I love Momose. It is what it is. I have to adapt as a business and as a creator of content. Thank you for watching today's video. Appreciate you guys. That's all I have to say for today. Take care.